Well, to talk a bit more about the situation in there, let's bring in France 24 correspondent Richelle Harrison Plesse. Richelle, what's the very latest from Melbourne?
Well, a record spike in coronavirus cases in Melbourne is forcing Australia's second largest city back into lockdown after the state of Victoria recorded 191 new cases this Tuesday. Stage 3 restrictions will be reinstated in Greater Melbourne for 6 weeks starting on Wednesday night. What does that mean? It means that people won't be able to leave their homes unless to get groceries and essential supplies, for caregiving, for exercise and for work or school if they can't be done from home. These rules are set to affect some 5 million people. They'll join the residents of so-called hotspots across the city whom are already in lockdown following localised outbreaks. Melbourne last week blocked the arrival of all international flights to reduce the risk of COVID-19 cases being brought in from overseas, but it's actually community transmission that is skyrocketing and causing the most concern. Meanwhile, Victoria is shutting its border with New South Wales, the country's most populous state. That kicks in tonight with hundreds of police and military personnel set to enforce that closure.
Richelle, what kind of effect might all of this have, this new lockdown? What kind of effect is that going to have on Australia's economy, particularly in regard to tourism?
Well, Australia has been admired around the world for its response to the pandemic and for keeping coronavirus relatively under control. And the Australian government has been banking on that to get the economy back up and running again, in particular the tourism industry, as various states start to slowly reopen their borders and allow interstate travel once again. But this situation in Victoria is putting the brakes on some of that, impacting thousands of businesses in Victoria, but also having a knock-on effect elsewhere. If anything, it's a stark reminder to the rest of the country not to get complacent and that we are far from being out of the woods. Meanwhile, there's also now a big question mark hovering over the so-called trans-Tasman bubble, with Australia and New Zealand wanting to cooperate on a COVID-safe travel zone in a bid to revive both countries' tourism industries. Now, for Australia alone, such a move would inject around 2.5 billion euros into the local economy. There was talk of it launching in September, but now with this second wave scare unfolding in Victoria, there's only uncertainty.
Richelle, thank you for that. Richelle Harrison Plesse, they're reporting for us from Sydney.